What's up, core reporters, and welcome back to my channel. First of all, thank you so much for voting on my photos yesterday. I put the photo up. I got the feedback I was looking for. All thanks to you. So thank you so much. Now let's get into our Love is Blind season 4, episode 7 recap. Jackie is having another. I almost don't want to say meltdown. I should probably say panic attack. Which one is better? You guys let me know. This time she's freaking out at the thought of meeting Marshall's family. I'm going to get into my theories as to why that was a little bit later on in the recap. But as usual, let's kick it off from the very top. Chelsea introduces Kwame to her father, and I gotta say, her father is not at all like she warned us he would be. He was not posing all of these like questions and stuff like that, interrogating Kwame on his intentions with Chelsea. He just was happy to be there, happy to see Chelsea happy and in love and accepting of their relationship. He practically jumped for joy when Chelsea told him that she was engaged. So I got nothing but good vibes from her dad. But I wonder if that made Kwame feel kind of guilty about the fact that he isn't really into her. At least, like in my perception of him, I don't see any chemistry there from his side. And I wonder if he was also kind of nervous and like preemptively thinking that he would be rejected, because he did say when we first met him on the show that he couldn't take his prom date to prom because he was black. You know what I mean? So maybe that is what he's more used to in terms of experiences. And that's why he was kind of being like a little sassy last episode, picking fights with Chelsea. Who knows? By the way, did you guys notice how uninterested Kwame was in the discussion that they were all having about which city they were going to choose to live in? Like, he's like, yeah, like, no, it's not happening. Meanwhile, Micah actually gets to meet Paul's mom. And I gotta say, Paul's mom coming into that restaurant with that like hat and stuff like that, she reminded me of Jennifer Coolidge, that kind of like chaotic actress that people really like. She reminded me a lot of her. But then facially speaking, to me, she is just an older version of Micah. They have the exact same bone structure, hairstyle, you name it. I did like Paul's mom. I found her to be quite adorable. And I love that she's a stalker. She was like, oh my God, Micah, just off your full name, I found everything about you online. I know what your parents do. I know where your parents live. I was like, girl, I love me a professional investigator. Like, yes, my people. So I did laugh to myself when his mom claimed that she had never seen Paul like this, so in love and over the moon and whatnot. Because Paul, to me, he's expressionless, like very flat. So he's just sitting there like this. And his mom's like, wow, I've never seen you like this, Paul. You're like bouncing off the walls in love. This is the Paul. That made me laugh so damn hard. But listen, no one knows your child like their mama. So I guess there was a twinkle in his eye or something like that that only she could see. Now let's get into Brett and his apartment. He brings Tiffany to his wonderful high-rise apartment. It seems to be a 1-bedroom plus den. It's very spacious. It's very techy and everything like that. Tiffany, she lives with a roommate, and so she was very kind of like stunned by his living conditions, okay? And obviously it was a given that she would be the one moving in with him, like when all is said and done, if they do end up saying yes, which I hope they do because they are my only hope for this season, y'all. Meanwhile, Bliss, she also actually gets to see her man Zach's apartment. So now that they are engaged, they're moving at the same pace as everyone else, even though they're behind in that Zach was bonding with someone else while Bliss was reeling from the heartbreak at home. So I don't know how I feel about that. You guys let me know. Does it feel rushed on their timeline that now they have the same kind of deadline to get married as everyone else, even though they're behind on an already short schedule? To me, it seems too much. I would be overwhelmed personally, but I digress. So, I spoiled something. Oh, she didn't say yes yet. In this episode. Sorry, y'all. Spoiler alert. So, anyway, she goes to Zach's house, okay? At this point, they're gonna have their second date out in the real world, and he was supposed to be making them steak, mushroom, carrots, and shrimp, but the steak was ruined because he forgot to zip up the Ziploc bag for the sous vide portion of it. And so he was super embarrassed. But I gotta say, everything looked so good. I especially love the carrots, goat cheese, and I don't know if they put pomegranate seeds, but I want to try that. I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna make that. I'm also gonna go to the grocery store and get some smoked salmon and put it with like avocado and pomegranate seeds. I love this. Oh, I'm hungry. I'm starving. So anyway, Zach keeps throwing feelers out there about getting back together with Bliss, and she keeps turning them down. But it's like, Bliss, listen, you and I both know that you would not be at Zach's house if you were not like considering getting back together with him. So, like maybe if you something's bothering you or whatever, just like be open about it instead of kind of shutting him down like that. I don't know. Maybe you guys felt a little bit differently, but I felt kind of like, come off it. Like, we all know you're here because you like him again, okay? But I will say that I was glad that she acknowledged to his face that she just felt the need to give him a hard time because it's still like a complicated and painful situation, kind of being like turned down for Irina, which I understand. The two of them dance a beautiful little romantic waltz in his kitchen after dessert, and she says that her feelings are coming back for him, which is cute. Now, let's get back into Kwame. Remember when we're talking about how he does not seem all that interested in moving in with Chelsea? It turns out that this man lives in Portland, which is 2 to 3 hours away from Seattle. Guys, why did he sign up for Love is Blind Seattle if he wanted to stay in Portland? Like, literally, F right off. It's very selfish. I felt the same way about SK doing Love is Blind last season. Dude, you're going to go steady for a year or two out of state. Why are you here? Like, it's too much to ask of someone and whatnot that you already barely know. I don't like that. I think it's selfish when people come to the show in these situations. You're the one coming from away, so you better be doing all you can, bending over backwards to make it work with someone in Seattle, because that's where the show is casted and supposed to be, so he brings us to his apartment at this point, which I gotta say, it made my skin crawl. It's a nice apartment in terms of the bones, right? Like, the structure is nice. It's very modern. It looks like a nice bougie apartment, but it is messy as hell. Take a look. Like, he just had clothes everywhere, on every table, on the couch, in the kitchen. Just, he was like, oh, I was in a rush, like packing my stuff to come. No, this is an apartment that doesn't get clean unless you've got someone coming over, right? To me, it's just a messy, messy, messy person. And the fact that Chelsea, and I'm itching even talking about it, I don't like this. I like a clean, as you can see, clean, minimalist apartment. I don't even like when people have too much stuff. It could be neat and still have too much stuff. I don't like it. That stresses me out, Like, I love cleanliness. I have a cleaner who comes here every other week. It's spotless consistently because I love like hotel level cleanliness. This to me was ick. And the fact that Chelsea could even sit on this couch, she deserves to go on Fear Factor, because I would not be able to do it. Like, with a jerk off. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all, but it's true. That's what it was. The lotion and the little handkerchief next to it. No, it could not be me. Absolutely not. Like, Kwame, how were you not ashamed to show your house in this condition? Like, it's not as bad as Cole from last season of the show, but it was still bad enough that you should be straight up ashamed of yourself as a grown-ass man wanting to get married, that you can show your home in this condition on television. Like, dude, like, filthy. Why couldn't you give a key to somebody while you were away and like say, hey, can you like get this together, or like hire, like a cleaning service for while you're away? Like, have some pride in your home, dude. Like, ridiculous. I'm sorry, I'm too grown for this. I can't with a man like this. Turn off. Okay. Meanwhile, Marshall, he is ready to introduce Jacquelina Thumbelina to his family. And so he's just cooking, preparing some little snacks, and Jackie starts freaking out. Okay. She's having like a meltdown or a panic attack or something like that about meeting them. And so I'm wondering, like, is it because she kind of already feels, I've always said this, I feel like, again, there's a massive class divide between Marshall and Jackie, in my opinion, in terms of the way they represent themselves. Jackie's got a good job. Like, she is a dental like assistant or whatever. Like, so that's a good job. But the way that she presents herself, to me, she seems like someone who's stuck in like a hood mentality. So I wonder if she's like, okay, like, I already feel this way with Marshall. What if like his whole family is like this, and then I feel like, like I don't belong at all? Like, I felt like that's what she was freaking out about. But I could be reaching. Y'all let me know if you got the same vibes about that or anything like that. But I do have to say, I'm sorry, but she just seems so exhausting to me. Every time you're having a good time, you're on a high, right? They're on their honeymoon thing in like Mexico having a great time. She's freaking out. Okay. He's getting ready, making the little snacks and stuff for his family to come over. She's freaking out. I'm sorry, but I need to have good times. I can't with this. It's draining to me as a viewer. I can't imagine it as someone kind of like, living it. It's almost like she can't stand to have a good time, but I digress. Like, the idea of just fun and whatnot freaks her out. I don't know. So she tells Marshall that her family isn't okay with her participation in the show. And so she has to make things right with them before making the decision. And at this point, I'm like, listen, producers, you got to stop casting people like this. You need to like get their family to join in on the casting tapes, because other reality shows do this. Like they get your family and friends to participate as well. Start doing that with these people to weed out the people whose family is not supportive. And if your family is not supportive, okay, you could still go through with this casting process, I guess, but you need to show yourself as someone who's able to stand on their own 2 feet without their family's backing. Because if you're going to be over here like sabotaging this process and whatnot because you don't have your family support, get out of here. Okay, I'm sorry, but I'm over it. I truly am. I can't at this point. So now, Marshall claims that anyway, so his family comes over and everything like that. And like, listen, it's his sister's husband, and his sister's child. And the sister's really cute with like her cotton candy pixie cut and whatnot. And they all just treat Jackie really kindly and everything. She seems to get on well with them and whatnot. Marshall claims that he knew on day one that he wanted to marry Jackie. So it was hard for him to keep dating other people throughout the experiment. Normally I would be like, oh, like all over myself about this, like if a Brett said it or Cam from season 1. But because this relationship is such a train wreck, I'm like, you poor sweet summer child. You poor thing, because this is not going to work, right? Very obviously. So like he's a very sensitive, loving person, but you just know it's not going to work. It's too much. So at this point, I gotta say, like, I'm sorry, but there's something wrong with him for feeling that way about the severely unstable woman. But I digress. Remember, I did do a video on this yesterday called Marshall's biggest red flag. I think his biggest red flag is that he has a savior complex, and he knew she was a little, off. I was gonna say depuis, but since the pods, um, and he still kept going, and it was for a reason. Get into that video if you want some more details on my thoughts on that. I will say though, in Jackie's favor, she handled herself very well through that visit, but you could see it in her eyes that she wasn't 100% in it. She was still hurting over the situation with her own family, but I have to give her props for still going through with things and just doing her best to make it all like hunky dory at the end of the day, as difficult as it was for her. Next up, we've got Micah. Micah, she gets to visit Paul's apartment. Listen, Paul's apartment is not a pigsty like Kwame's apartment, but it's not sexy, okay? It's not very well decorated, but like, listen, what do you expect sometimes, right, from these guys? Like, it's just not their forte, and what can you do, I guess? At least it was clean. To me, that would be the biggest requirement. By the way, what's this about Micah wanting to live part-time in Arizona? Like, I don't remember that from the pods. And again, I don't love these situations. I feel like these people should be based in the city for the minimum friction possible, right? To make sure that these relationships will actually end up working out. Paul, he doesn't have a remote job. He's a scientist. So it could be kind of difficult to have that kind of a lifestyle where you're splitting your time between Arizona and Seattle, Washington. But I digress. We'll see how that ultimately ends up working out. I would hope that Micah told him in the pods and that he made an informed decision based on his own lifestyle that it would work for him. And that was the reason why he proposed to her at the end of the day, right? Now let's get into Kwame's phone call with his mom. Listen, I am calling absolute BS on that phone call. So he steps aside, like, oh, I need to talk to my mom about this experiment. She's not supportive. Again, just like I said, when it comes to Jackie and her family situation, get rid of these people whose family do not approve, okay, and they're not able to stand on their own 2 feet about their grown ass decision to get married. I don't like it. So Kwame, he calls the phone. He allegedly calls his alleged mother on the phone, and it doesn't sound right. The first time he's announcing that he's engaged apparently is on camera. I don't believe it. Listen, I don't. I can't. It's not believable at this point. And so he's saying that the mom was mad at him, and then on the phone he validates and respects her anger, but the way that he was speaking to her was so clinical and detached. I just can't imagine that she was actually on the phone or anything like that. I think maybe he got a friend to play along so that he can use it as his excuse. Well, one of his multitude of excuses to back out from the commitment of marrying wonderful Chelsea. Like, we all know how we speak with our parents. No one speaks with their parents like this. Like, she is a lady from HR. Absolutely not. Now, let's get back into Tiffany and Brett, okay? Because there was something that was starting to loom over this relationship that I did want to talk about. Tiffany, in my opinion, she seems at least slightly worried or maybe insecure about the financial gap between she and Brett. He's got a wonderful, modern apartment with a lot of amenities, clearly, and expensive clothes and gadgets. And she lives with roommates. We don't see her house, so I don't even know what that means, right? Some people live in with roommates in really big, beautiful, wonderful homes. It doesn't mean that she's broke or anything like that, but just based on the way she's speaking, there's an income gap, and it seems to be on her mind there. I gotta say, I didn't appreciate her making him answer questions about his expensive things on camera. Expensive is relative to your income. So if your income is not that high, yeah, it's gonna seem crazy that he would spend like, $1,200 on this or that or the other. But when you've got the coin for it, it's not a big deal. So I felt like it was kind of putting him on the spot to be judged by people who don't really understand because they're not in the same financial category as him. I will say, as a woman having to deal with this, listen, I live in Europe and I make overseas coin, and the people in Europe here or Paris, they don't really make money like that, right? Mm, so when you're dating, you run into guys who are a little bit stunned by, like, where you live or how you live and whatnot, and so they ask a lot of prying questions. It makes me uncomfortable, so I will say that I was triggered by this. I was like, leave me and my coin alone, and I wonder if Brett felt the same way, but I digress. So they did kind of talk about whether or not they could stay in this apartment. It's a 1 bedroom, so it might be a little bit crowded for 2 people, and so Brett, like, he spoke about it like it was a no-brainer. Listen, girl, we're gonna get a 2 bedroom then. If you like this unit style and you like this building and stuff, we can just go ahead and get a 2 bedroom apartment. I was like, yes, boo, solve them problems with your coin. So Zach and Bliss at this point, they go on a date on a boat or whatever, and they seem to be having like a rather decent time, but I am just not seeing the chemistry. Is anybody else in the same boat where they just don't see it? It feels a little bit forced. I'm not gonna lie. Bliss says she's into Zach and she's attracted to him and whatnot, and obviously Zach feels the same way. But I still just don't see the spark that would make me go, I think that this couple is in love. You know what I mean? But I digress. At least they got a kiss on the mouth at some point here. I will say, though, that he was very smooth when he asked Bliss who, like, she would want to meet in the world. And so she goes, oh, Oprah. And so he goes, you know what? I would want to meet your parents. I was like, yeah, you better put that down, zip it, and reverse it. Like, he was, laying down that game, and I loved it. And then he proposes at this point, and I was like kind of shocked by it because, again, I'm not seeing this huge love between them. I'm seeing people getting to know each other, but not enough to full blown get engaged or anything like that. I still feel like Bliss is a little bit icy towards him, right? Like, he'll be complimenting her, she won't really return them, and she'll be, she even said she still feels a need to give him a hard time because she's heard about what happened. So I don't know how you go from that to a full blown proposal when the underlying feelings have not yet been resolved. But I digress. She does say yes. But again, I don't think she can overlook being his second choice. And it was really strange to me how he hugged her after she said yes, and she doesn't hug him back. He's like over here, and she's there like this. And I'm like, all right, girl, we'll see how this goes. Like, I'm happy for her that, like, she got like her closure in the form of a proposal, but I do feel like this proposal was rushed, and I'm not sure that I see it for them. I'm hoping for the best for them. I think they both seem like lovely people individually, but I'm not sure. I feel like sometimes you need some time for a love to mature, but I digress. There you go, you guys. A recap of what went down on Love is Blind season 4, episode 7. But as usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.